Welcome to the Family Nonsense Podcast, providing personal finance for families. Join Rich and James, who debate, relate, and make sense of the financial nonsense. Let's dive into the overall topic, the main thing everyone wants to know. What should families do during today's challenges, these financial challenges? It's crazy out there. What's going on? Let us know.
Oh, hey, James. Yeah, so it is definitely crazy out there. It's like there's blood in the streets. These markets are continuously selling off. People are worried, and it just feels like things are shifting right now. And maybe it's felt this way for a few months, but now we're really in the thick of it. And people are wondering, when is it going to end? And what is the outcome going to be? What is it going to look like at the end of this? So I don't know what's going on. I mean, we could say hindsight is 2020, and maybe we all could have predicted, and we've been talking about it, that we are going to have a downturn in the economy, that eventually, the Fed stops printing money, they start raising interest rates, and things are going to turn. Once you take the punch bowl away, it's like things are going to get ugly. But now that it's here, it feels terrible, and we're making new lows today as we're recording this.
Yeah.
And the NASDAQ is down over 30%. The S&P 500 is basically down 20% now, which is technically a bear market. So yeah, it just feels really ugly out there all around.
Yeah, I totally agree. Sometimes it can feel defeating, just like with your family, all this investing you're doing, you're trying to pay for the house, you're worried about your kids and their college. It's a real challenge out there. The economy's not making it any better. But there is a lot of things we can do, right? There's a lot of opportunity. With these challenges comes a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of good things we could do. It's the Wild West out there. So there's a lot of really good things we could do when it comes to what we're doing with our finances. We could smarten up, we could be minimalistic. So I just really want to dive into some of those things that we could really kind of help families out with and kind of just guide them through and to just get away from some of this nonsense that they're hearing on TikTok, they're hearing on the news, and to just bring everybody down to earth. And hopefully we can kind of help guide everybody through.
Yeah, I think opportunity is the right word. And I find myself talking about this all the time, especially with people that are in our age group that, still have a long ways to go before they're actually going to be retiring. Yeah. There's opportunity right now. So, my buzzwords for 2022 have been patience and automation, right? I don't feel that there's a need to jump into anything, even though I want to invest in stuff and I want to start throwing money at things as I watch them go down. I think patience is a very good thing to have in 2022 and not feel like you have to make very big moves. In automation, I'm talking about that all the time also, because this is going to be a great year when you look back for you to just dollar cost average into your retirement accounts every 2 weeks, throw money in there. It's a good time to be accumulating stuff. So panic is not the word for 2022, right? If we're in retirement and we're taking withdrawals from our money and we're trying to survive, then I would feel a little bit panicked in this market environment, but for right now, it's really just being secure, making smart decisions, and just keep doing what you're doing. If you're having trouble sleeping at night and this whole economy is really keeping you up, then maybe you are a little bit overexposed to what's going on in the stock market and different investments and things like that. But if anything, as these prices come down, I do think that it will be an opportunity. But as we're going through it, it feels terrible. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of right now of concentrating on getting on stable ground, building that solid foundation. So focusing on things like paying off debt, any bad debt that you have, credit card debt, even home equity lines of credit, anything that's going to be like variable rates out there where they're going to be going up as these interest rates go up. Those are the things you want to focus on getting out of your life. And I always talk about taking a step back and just looking at your overall financial picture, right? So how much money does it cost me to live every month? What's my bare minimum that it costs me to survive, right? And then what levers do I have to pull if we really do have an emergency that we have to get into? Could I pull money from a credit line, or how much emergency funds do I have in the bank? What other levers could I pull if things really get bad, like I lose my job or my income dramatically gets reduced in this or something happens? So those are the things that, I think people should be thinking about right now, but it's definitely not a time to be panicking. Like the worst thing to do is to say, you know what, I'm losing all my money, my 401ks, my IRAs and everything. Just get me out. I got to stop the pain. That's the worst thing to do during these times.
Yeah, it's human nature to panic, right? And you really want to get that gratification of things are going up, right? When I put $100 in, it starts to increase. But when you see it go down to $80, you do get nervous. It's just a little defeating. But you know what? We didn't put that money in today to become millionaires tomorrow, right? So it's going to take some time. We just got to relax a little bit. It all depends on the age that we are. and we just need to run our own race here, right? It's kind of, we don't need to worry about people, that have the Telsas down the street, and people that have the greener grass than us, right? We're going to run our own race. We're going to set up that base where we're safe as a family. We're not going to have debt. We're going to go green with the credit card. We're going to throw it right in the recycle bin. We're not going to pay interest on stuff that we don't need. We're going to try to step it back a little bit, analyze what really is meaningful to us, and we're going to invest money into that, right? Even if there's inflation, we're going to spend a little bit of money on the things that we need, like healthy foods and stuff like that. But we're going to get rid of the junk in our life, right? The things that are slowing us down, the extra things that we have in the house that we just don't need. We're not finishing, that are coming from the food store. We're going to buy these new flavors that our kids are going to eat, and actually that they're not going to eat, and we're going to throw them out, right? We're going to buy things that really kind of fuel our family, keep us going. We're going to try to kind of just say no to the junk, say no to stuff that's going to, charge up our credit card. We're going to keep investing. And even though the investing is not going to make us millionaires overnight, it's okay that it's boring, right? It's okay that it's just automated. Automated is boring to some people, but really it's really not boring, because you know what? You sleep better at night, right? You have a game plan. No matter if things go up or down, you're still in line with your game plan and you're moving forward. And that's really key to being successful and to retiring and to being financially free. So keep that kind of momentum going, and you're going to be safe, right? There was dips before, there's going to be dips again. And it might even be worse. But if we keep moving forward, we cannot be stopped. So keep that kind of momentum going, and I think you'll be, having just an easier time when it comes to your family finances.
Yeah, exactly. And, another thing that I always talk about is the purpose of the money that you're saving, right? And time horizon, because those are really the important things. And it helps you take a step back and realize, that what we're going through right now, it really doesn't have a direct impact on your life, right? So if we're talking about time horizon, if you have money that you need in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, then yeah, you shouldn't have that money at risk right now, because who knows what it's going to look like at that point, right? So all your different investments, I like doing this, and I'll even take a pen and paper and do it. And I'll write down each type of investment that I have out there and when I am going to be using that money. What is the purpose of that money? So even like my kids' 529 plan, for example, right? They're all down pretty big so far year to date, along with everything else. Like my youngest guy, I have 10 years before he's going to college. So if anything, this is a great time for me to add to him. Then I have a 15-year-old who's going to be going to college in a few years. For his 529 plan is much more conservatively invested. It's still gone down, but not nearly to the point that my youngest has gone down. So that time horizon, right? And you want to have a runway. And when we go into a recession, into a bad economy, it's like those emergency funds, you want to juice those up. There's no need to take on additional risk during these environments. If anything, it's like, slow it down, take a deep breath and let it all play out. Because these markets, even though it's been pretty painful and it sucks, they could last much longer than any of us think that they will. So, I was just talking about this with a friend of mine, that younger people, like, they haven't really experienced what a really bad market feels like. For me, like, I'm 44 years old. So I lived through the dot-com bubble, which was crazy. And that was when I just started working. And then we had the Great Recession, 2008, 2009. And those were two terrible markets where when I first started working, I graduated college in 2000. When I first started working, I had like 12 years of my investments going nowhere, and there was roller coaster rides within there. But the market in general, from the day I graduated, it took it 12 years for it to get back to that same point after we had that Great Recession, 2008, 2009. So nobody's experienced that before. People who've graduated who've been working for 10 years, all they know is up. Right. And they've had tremendous rates of return, but we could have a sideways to a down market for the next decade. And I think you have to be prepared for that. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but I do think you need to be prepared for that. But if you're not retiring for 20 years, then good. Guess what? It will actually help you. Like, that period of time helped me because I was able to buy and accumulate shares over that time, and then catch this nice bull run that happened the last decade. So 10 years of going nowhere, I think we'll be okay with everybody. So that's another silver lining to everything that's going on right now. But I am stressing the fact to people that I'm speaking with is, to just be on secure ground, because money stress sucks. There's really nothing worse than being stressed about money all the time.
It scares me like crazy with a family of four. It's something that, keeps me up at night, right? I'm always worried about, do I have the right emergency fund? Is this vacation going to delay the financial goals that I have, right? Should I really be going to Disney in July? Like, I'm going with my family. But should I be kind of trying to pay off my house? Should I be trying to max out my Roth IRAs like everyone's telling me? Should I be investing in crypto? I don't know. I'm feeling FOMO. It's really challenging to really just know, where you should invest your money. Everyone tells you you're wrong. Every decision you make is wrong, right? Pay off your house. Oh, you're an idiot because, you could have been, a billionaire or whatever with, the $300,000. You invest in something and it goes down 20%. And then people will tell you should have paid off the debt. So it's it's really confusing out there. And when the economy is down and inflation is up, we can kind of really beat up ourselves when it comes to the decisions we make. One thing that I like to do is I like to try to eliminate as much as debt as possible. It helps me sleep better at night, and it just helps me protect my family. When it was just me and my wife, I really didn't care about debt, and I wanted to keep up with the Joneses, and I wanted the nice jewelry and the nice clothes, and I wanted to impress people. But now that I've had kids, I've kind of had that check in my life where, I want to build that base. I want to build that castle of, financial stability, right? Where the wolf can come to the door and I'm going to keep them out, right? Because if something bad happens, I'm kind of financially free. I don't have to worry about a job loss. I don't have to worry about milk going up $2. It's not going to impact me as much. It will slow me down. But I want to be financially free. And that's one thing that I really want to stress with families is to, build that financial freedom mindset. And you don't have to be, you don't have to kind of get rid of everything in your life, but focus on the things that mean to you and the things that really kind of are really just going to get old in 10 years. They're not really assets, right? And try to eliminate them from your life. And if you start to do that type of process, you're going to see that really the things that you were buying, say 10 years ago, they really don't mean anything. They get old, and they're in the attic, right? And kind of start to build that mindset, start to, take down that debt from smallest to largest, from largest to smallest, figure out a way that works for you, that makes you feel better, that you can kind of do yourself, and works, for you and your spouse and your family, and stick to that plan. Try to eliminate that debt, and sometimes you might have to even delay your investment as well. So if the debt is really bad, and we could even talk about good and bad debt, it's something that you want to focus on because, it's guaranteed that you're alive right now. And, when you retire, that's kind of, it turns into luck, at some point in your health. So you want to make sure that you're okay now, so you could be, really good later. So you have to focus on the debt, I believe.
Yeah. And, one of my favorite sayings is personal finance is personal. And it's so true because it really does depend on you and what's going to make you feel comfortable, confident, and live the life that you want to live. So financial freedom, it can mean different things to different people and the way that they go about it. There's so many different ways you could go about it, right? So being great with your money and being great with personal finances and reaching financial freedom, it's like there's a blueprint to it, but everybody takes a different path, So there's like basic knowledge around it and there's basic advice that you could give people to do it. But at the end of the day, it's like everybody forges their own path and they make their own way and you make mistakes along the way and you can't beat yourself up over it and you question every decision and there's no right answer for everybody. Like what you do might be totally different than what I do, right? And just people have different paths to get to that point. But at the end of the day, you want to be able to sleep well at night and feel like you've done the best you can to get where it is that you want to go. So I think that everything people should be doing should be with that goal of financial freedom. And I think it looks different than it did maybe 10, 15 years ago, where maybe financial freedom was having the house on the hill and, living in a mansion and driving, these crazy cars and having $100,000 watch and all that stuff. To me, all that stuff means, nothing. I would much rather have time and be able to go on vacations with my family and have that type of freedom, that type of financial security. That's what it's all about for me. And I think the rest of the world, is on board with that and is feeling the same when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, financial freedom is definitely
for sure. Yeah. And the older you get, you start to realize that, I thought, when I was younger in my 20s, I thought I had time and, as I get older, as I had kids, I realized that, time is way more valuable, right? And I decided to, live more of a minimalistic life. And the things that, I valued, when I was teenager to 20s, I really don't value at all. I thought I wanted, all these nice things, and all I really want is just good memories with my family, and the money that allows me to do that, right? And and to be able to say no to things that I don't want to do career-wise because I financially can. And I'm not looking to be a millionaire. I just want to be comfortable, and I just want to be happy. And a lot of people seem to be moving that way. It seems to be the one good thing that's coming from the panic and all the craziness from social media is people are starting to realize they're seeing the chaos, and they're trying to, and now they're just starting to say no to it, right? And a great way to do that is to just live a simple life, live minimalistic, focus on the things that truly mean something to you, and run your own race. And that's really going to allow you to not only be healthier, it's going to allow you to be more financially successful as well.
Yep. And, like I've made mistakes in my life. There are things that I wish that I did differently, but I was in the same boat. Like when I graduated college, I wanted to be rich. I mean, not to say I don't want to be rich. I think everybody really wants to be rich, right? So, but I was really, I don't want to use the word obsessed either, but that was a very big motivating factor for me. And I went through a couple different houses. When I got married, I married my high school sweetheart. We bought a condo, then we bought a townhouse. This was starting like in 2003. So I bought in very good housing markets and then bought in very bad housing markets. Our second house was 2007. It was a townhouse. But then we eventually built the house that we live in now. And looking back on it, it was a mistake. I probably built too big of a house where we live. Like I'm, in New York, the taxes are absolutely outrageous. And now we're kind of ingrained in the community here where I have 3 kids in the school systems. My whole family is around me. It's hard to reverse those decisions, so it's like you get yourself under the pressure of maintaining and upkeeping everything. And it's hard to reverse that once you get yourself ingrained in that. So that's definitely one thing that I would do differently, looking back on it, because at the end of the day, I probably don't need to live where I live. I probably don't need, I'm not in a mansion, but I probably don't need to be in the house that I'm in, paying the taxes that I am. I joke around my wife all the time because both of us, we're not tied to a job. We work remotely. So what are we doing here? It's like, let's get out of the Northeast where the taxes are crazy and let's go somewhere where they treat us a little bit better. And, it doesn't cost so much just to survive, just to live here. So
I proposed to my wife, I want to move to a tiny house, but she rolled her eyes. So I got the hint. So, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat as you, but, if it was up to me, I'd be living in a tent somewhere in Utah and living off the fat of the land, right? Once you have families, you got to live a little bit heavier, but it's it's all right though. But yeah, I fully agree. Moving on to another topic that's pretty everyone's kind of talking about is that I word, inflation. How could a family, especially family with multiples, just really, it doesn't really matter at this point. How could just a family with kids overcome this inflation? How can they fight back? How could they, still kind of, budget their money and stay in line with their financial goals, their lifestyle goals? How is this possible today?
Yeah. And it's hard, and for a family. So I have 3 kids and, they come to a certain expectation of how things go and how you spend money, and they get used to the lifestyle and everything. And then all of a sudden it's like the cost of everything goes through the roof, and it's how do you survive? And honestly, I think the answer is you just make tough decisions and you do start to substitute things, and you really do look at, where's my money going every month? What am I spending my money on? So even just a simple example, like we have BJ's near my house where, I do a lot of the shopping, the bulk stuff. And then my wife does like the weekly stuff. And I've just extended the time period, right? If I used to do it once a month and buy the bulk stuff, even like drinks for school or like whatever, snacks, things like that around the house, instead of doing every 4 weeks, I'm pushing it out to every 6 weeks. So if we have 2 weeks without, this crap in the house that they're accustomed to having, then so be it, right? Or even like with gas and driving around, like, you start to make different decisions where is it worth, taking this trip and doing exactly, what we used to be doing if it's going to cost that much more. But just even opening your eyes to it and realizing and making conscious decisions, you just have to scale back during these times, especially if you don't have that emergency fund in the bank. If you don't feel like you're on very secure financial footing, then it's like, I need to pull back a little bit and make smarter decisions because the cost of everything, it is outrageous. We got buffalo wings the other night, right? So we get wings usually like every 2 weeks or whatever. And the price of buffalo wings, I couldn't believe it. It was like double than it was since the last time I ordered. So it's just craziness. It's like I couldn't justify everything I buy these days. I feel like I'm getting ripped off. No matter where I go, I walk out thinking, damn, like that price of everything is crazy crazy right now. So you know what? I'm not going to order buffalo wings for a little while because it just pisses me off. It's not that, you know, I don't want it. Well, it is. I don't want to spend the money, right? But it's like something that we need to have. So it's like, you know what? I'll just throw some chicken legs on the barbecue and we'll call it a day.
I feel your pain. Have you ever gone to like a baseball game before, and the prices, the inflation at a baseball game? Well, I'm gonna go to the food store now. When go to the food store now, I feel like I'm at a theme park or a baseball game. You know, I cringe, you know, walking down and I see what was once $1 is the next week it's $1.25, right? And I see, you know, that's basically 25% increase, right? For just no reason. Well, I guess there is reason, but you know, it just seems like that should just be like a 5-cent increase, right? And it's pretty extensive, and it starts to, you know, give you that gut check on, you know, what do I really need, right? And kind of, you do just really say no. And sometimes they say high prices, the best thing to bring high prices down is high prices, right? Because people start to reject it, you know, and they just say no to things. And, you know, if you're going to buy 5 things, you know, at around the same price, and you cut out one of them, it's basically the same price, right? I mean, you're spending the same money you would have a week ago, but you said no to the one thing, and now you're starting to contribute to fighting against the inflation. You know, and I'm sure prices are not going to go back down to what they were, but it could help kind of do that, and it's definitely going to help your budget if you say, you know, no to those things that are too expensive. But you also have to consider, you know, keeping those experiences going with your kids, right? You have to still go to these theme parks, go on these vacations, because these kids are only young once, right? And you know, and they're only what I call immature at this time, where everything's majestic to them, right? They believe in Santa Claus. They go to Disney and they want to see the characters. They're not too cool for it yet. So we still have to be forced into these situations during the worst time ever. So we have to just be minimalistic when it matters, right? And we don't even need to let our kids know about it, right? We just don't steer them in the direction of the $20, you know, cotton candy or something like that. They won't even know about it. So if we don't put ourselves always in these situations, we could also just avoid, you know, this inflation, but still have a great time without it impacting our kids. And you know, and we could still kind of move forward, still hopefully get over this inflation, and you know, start to just, you know, live back to that normal, like, financial, you know, lifestyle where we're not cringing, you know, at the supermarket, and we're not worried about shortages and high prices, and every time that our gas goes down to E. So, you know, if we kind of have that approach, you know, we could start to overcome that, and we could at least try to break even, you know, when we go to the food store by just saying no to a couple things. And I think that'll help.
Yeah, I think so too. And you hit on a lot of good points right there. Like, one thing that I've been doing with my kids, like, it's like you want to shield them from it, but at the same point, it's like a teachable moment also, especially for
true.
Yep. You know, so like my 15-year-old, everywhere we go, I'm pointing out prices to him. Like, I want him to understand how it all works. And, you know, like, he had a summer job. Actually, it's in the fall. He worked at an apple farm. I have an apple farm in my neighborhood that he worked at last fall, and they paid him $15 an hour, which is pretty sweet. You know, when I was a kid, it was like $6 an hour, right? So $15 an hour. So when we go places and we look at how much things cost, I'm like, dude, you know, you'd have to work like 10 hours to get that pair of Nikes that you want over there. Is it worth 10 hours of your time in order to afford that pair of sneakers?
Yeah, that's a good approach.
And if you decide that it is worth it, then you better treat those sneakers very well, you know, because it's going to be a while before you want to drop another $150 to get another pair. So it is a teachable moment. And even things like, you know, so whatever. I'm in New York. I'm a big Yankee fan. I'm a big Giants fan, right? Madison Square Garden, Knicks games. Those are things that I used to take my kids to all the time. And right now, it's just hard to bite the bullet. I just can't bring myself to do it, you know? So maybe we'll go to a Yankee game soon. The Yankees are doing very well right now, so I would like to go see a Yankee game, but it's just hard. I don't want to go to a Yankee game and drop $500 to take, you know, even just me and 2 of my kids. Like, it's crazy.
So it's almost like an overnight trip. The cost to go to, like, you know, these games, you know, you can go 2 nights somewhere, right? And you know, if the Yankees lose 3-0, they don't even score a run, and you're out $500, you could have had a nice, you know, 2 nights, you know, in front of a fireplace and all that type of stuff. So it's like, you really have to kind of weigh, like, is this worth it, you know? And kind of it's just really challenging. You know, and I like how you're teaching your kids that. I try to teach my son that. He told me to get a part-time job, but now they're too young to understand it. But I will take on your advice and start teaching them and showing them some of the things, so they do start to kind of know the psychology of money, where it comes from. And, is this really kind of, do I want, this toy or food, because it could stop me from getting something nicer down the road, or, and kind of I'll start to spend my money wisely, and I'll start to ask for things wisely because I'm mindful of, this, crazy economy.
Right. Opportunity costs. It's a great thing to teach them at a young age, and
Yeah.
Another topic we could probably get into, we could do it on a future episode, but it's credit card rewards programs and credit card hacking and things like that. So like we talking about Disney and experience, like we went to Disney just a few months ago, and even though it's crazy expensive, I had, the hotel, I used points for the hotel, the flight, used points for the flight, but just the Disney tickets themselves, it was still crazy expensive. And then just to eat down there, going to the restaurants, eating in the park, it is so expensive, where my kids had a great time, but it puts a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth, just knowing how much money it costs to go and do this, each day. So it's tough, it's hard to spend the money to enjoy these experiences. So any edge that you could get to try to take the lessen the blow a little bit, is a good thing.
Yeah. Well, the final payment that you do, on your trip, that's your souvenir.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
You take that home with you. So, the kids get to enjoy all the toys afterwards, but, you get that final bill at the end. But, but that's good. You took your kids there, during one of the most challenging times, to go there. Not only did you battle spring break, because that's the time that you went, but, you battled these crazy prices, the crazy lines. And also people not being able to really go, on these trips, and they canceled them 2 years ago, and now they're making up for it. So it's like, basically, 2 times the people that are coming. So, but it's good that you're still, a legend for that. As a parent, your kids will always kind of, remember you for that, and have those memories, and those are, going to be worth, a lot themselves. So that's good to just keep doing that stuff. It doesn't mean you always have to stay home, right? Because, gas prices are high and stuff like that. Don't let, $50 to $100 more, ruin your trip. Try to hack it and try to cut back in other ways.
Exactly.
Sometimes you can't avoid gas prices. Okay, but we could stop drinking a soda or coffee or something like that. And we can make up for that gas price. So we can still have these memories and pursue the things that mean the most to us. So, keep that type of mindset, and we could break free from this, inflation, issue.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how long inflation is around, and if it does start to come down. It'll be interesting to see if the Federal Reserve actually does stick with their plan to keep increasing interest rates to try to put a stop to this inflation. A lot of uncertainty over this next year, but if inflation stays where it is, I think that things are just going to get worse. This inflation, it squeezes the middle to lower classes, right? So if you don't have a ton of money in the bank, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, then, these times are just miserable, and you have to make some very hard decisions. So inflation is the enemy of the people, and hopefully, they do the right things to make it stop. But there's going to be pain, so everybody has to expect that there is going to be pain, but there will be, light at the end of the tunnel once we actually get through it. So I do believe it's a good time to hunker down and to just take things slowly, and not get too crazy with spending and with trying to buy things right now. It is a good time to step back. And like you said before, that is what will almost cause prices to come down, is us rebelling against paying these prices. If everybody pays the higher prices, then the companies are going to say, okay, we can get away with this. We're just going to keep increasing it. So, yeah, put the pocketbooks away. Let's put the plastic away. Let's just take a step back and take a deep breath.
Just know that today's financial challenges are going to make you a better person. They're going to make you more savvy. They're going to make you more creative on ways to save money and make money. It's going to make you a better person. You're going to look back at this time. It may feel like a loss. It may feel expensive, but you're going to become a better, person for this. And I think in the long run, we are going to make more money if we just sensibly get out of this situation and don't put sticks into the fire. And I think we'll be well on our way to get not only out of this, bad economy, but, to where we are, have less debt, and, we're able to have more confidence in our retirements.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess wrapping this up, and, we'll kind of tackle a lot of stuff on, other episodes in the future. I guess really the last kind of thing is everyone's kind of talking about, do I pay off debt right now while the stock market's going down, or do I double up? Is everything on sale? Do I just have that mentality, or should I start to like tackle some of this debt? Maybe there's some really bad debt, some high interest debt. Maybe there's just a mortgage. What should the average kind of family start to just invest their extra money into?
Yeah, so I think there's definitely like an order of operations, right? Like a pecking order that you have to go through. And even though I love saving for retirement, I love automating, the 401k and doing all that stuff. If you have bad debt, and I kind of define bad debt as in this interest rate environment, anything that's really above like 6%, now interest rates are going up. Maybe it's a little bit above that, but anything above 6%, I would want to tackle that, but it's a difficult question to answer because what if you have student loans where it's a very large amount and it's above 6%? It's like, do you pay that down or do you invest instead? Or what about a mortgage? Do you pay that down or do you invest instead? So my personal opinion is if you have credit cards, right? If you have stuff like double digit debt, if you have any of that bad debt, personal loans, you need to focus on attacking that stuff. That stuff needs to go number one, right? Because it could just bury you. And that's what causes you to live paycheck to paycheck and the stress of having that debt on you, right? If you have student loans where you're like in that 4 to 6% range and it's a large amount, I think that you'd have to split it. I think you have to do both, right? Where you want to still make your 401k contributions, your IRA contributions, while also paying down the debt. Personally, in my life, I choose not to pay down my mortgage any faster than I have to. I almost flip it and think of, and I'm a real estate investor too, so we could talk about that in future episodes as well. But I look at a mortgage, as crazy as this sounds, I look at a mortgage almost like an asset. All right. So I look at this debt that I have on my house, this mortgage that I have on my house at a very low interest rate, say 3%, which hopefully, if you have a mortgage out there, hopefully you're locked in somewhere in that 3 to 4% range and nothing above that, because now rates are up in the fives. So if you have a mortgage where you're paying 3% on that right now, I would much rather invest my money, even if it wasn't investing in real estate, even if it was investing in the stock market or in other things, I would rather do that than pay down my mortgage, because my mortgage, 3% money, you're just not going to come by that again. Maybe not again in our lifetimes. Who knows?
Yeah.
So I like having that debt, especially if you could tie that debt to an asset that appreciates. Now we're talking about like rental properties and things like that. If you could buy a rental property, carry a debt on it, have that rental property give you a positive cash flow where it's putting money in your pocket and you have tenants paying down that debt for you, then we're going into a whole different ballgame. That's where I really love debt and love those mortgages and stuff. But just for an average family, you got to get rid of the credit card debt. You got to get rid of all that crap first, and then you start investing more and more once you pay down those debts and you get them off your back. But when it comes down to mortgage or student loans that maybe you're paying 4 or 5% on, I think that you have to do both, because the power of compounding, you don't want to give up those years of being able to invest money early in life. So even in your 20s and your 30s, even in our 40s, right? I want that money to grow for me for the next 20 years. I can't give up those early years of plowing that money into those accounts. I'd much rather do that than pay down a mortgage. Another downside to me to paying down the mortgage is just that you can't take the money back out. So if you do have an emergency, right? If you have a $100,000 mortgage and I have a $400,000 mortgage, we still both have to make a mortgage payment, right? So if you have a cash crunch, if you have an emergency, if you lose your job, at that point, you can't even do a cash out refinance because you don't have a job anymore. So you don't have that money. It's not easily accessible to get it back out of the house, which causes some stress for me. Like I would rather have that money in investments or in other vehicles where I could get access to it, if need be, if I did have a real emergency. And I'm just going to let that mortgage payment, I know you feel differently on this one, but I'm just going to let that mortgage payment continue for the next 30 years. Going into retirement, I would like to pay off my mortgage. I'd like to walk into retirement without a mortgage in my 60s or whatever the case may be, but I'm in no rush to pay it down any sooner.
Yeah. And, another thing is that it all depends on how like volatile you are to, debt, to investing. Definitely. Me personally, I am very scared of investing. I really started investing heavily, the past year, which is the worst time to start getting these lessons, right? So I've gotten no gratification from investing besides the 401k from a long time ago that was like a match. So, I've had bad experiences so far. So my whole methodology is to just kill all debt, be 100% debt free. I do agree with the investing, but I would like to just set a basis and feel like I'm retired, in my 30s, and, play catch up after that. So try to live off of just one person's paycheck, and then invest the rest of the, the other person's paycheck, because you will have basically only like $2,500 in bills a month, and you'll have a lot of extra money to either travel, contribute to your emergency fund, or invest it, which is what I would like to do, is invest it. Definitely kill all the credit cards. That is just junk food. That is like eating potato chips that are going to get you fat. That is going to be financially really bad for you. So you want to just stay away from that type of debt. That is just horrible debt. You want to try to, have a small car payment. You really want to try to just pay off your car. Even if you have to buy a junk car, there's nothing like the feeling of driving a car that's paid off compared to, driving a nice car with a $600 payment. It's just, the car's going to be old. Think about how, great iPhones were, a couple of years ago, the first iPhone, everyone wanted it, right? Everyone was going to pay whatever it cost. That iPhone, turns into, it's just like a Telsa. It's going to turn into an old clunky, thing that you're going to be, not satisfied with anymore. So watch what you're buying, what payments you're agreeing to. Try to avoid and cut them all out. You want to do that, and also, try to kind of, knock out your mortgage. It all depends on your mortgage rate. If you have a low rate, I personally have a low mortgage rate. But I still try to get rid of it. I'm only about $8,000 away from it. So I'm all in now. And I'm kind of, now I just want the gratification of paying off the house. But then I'm going to go really hard on investing, into my 401k. I'm going to max out my Roth IRAs. So I do see that is a gap in my financial game. But my thing is, I want to pay off my house as fast as possible, so I can get to investing as fast as possible. It's kind of, but I agree with what Rich is saying. It depends on your style, depends on, your volatility, to debt, to what investing is. It also depends on your knowledge. Rich is much more knowledgeable about investing, about, the choices to make, than I am. I'm new to that, and I am really knowledgeable at just knocking out debt, and I'm more of the person who gets the guaranteed gratification of having no debt, right? And then before getting into like knowing the knowledge of stocks and where to invest, I'm still working my way, up to that knowledge level before I'm able to, start to invest confidently. So, and I want to be able to be debt free when I do make those choices. I'll just personally sleep better at night because of that.
Yeah, and I always joke, nobody ever went broke paying off their debt. So
yeah,
it's never a bad decision to pay off your debt. It's like people will argue, well, maybe you're not optimizing. Maybe you could get to where you want to go faster if you use leverage, if you use debt, right? But at the end of the day, if you have no debt, that's good. That's a good thing, right? Nobody ever went broke paying off their debt. So it's going to help you sleep at night. So I can't argue with that decision. I just chose to take a different path in life. Like I have rental properties and then the mortgage on my house. I mean, I'm carrying, 7 figures in debt in my life. Yeah. And it helps me sleep like a baby, which is a strange thing. But that's only because I know that I have assets that are tied to it. And maybe a big drop in the housing market will kind of put me in check a little bit, or at least it will hurt me a little bit. But, I've had a bulk of these houses I've had for a while. So there's a lot of equity in the houses where I'm not really worried about it. And usually when the prices of homes, or if we're in the recession, the price of real estate are going down, then that means that the renter market is actually pretty strong. So as rents are going up, everybody always needs a place to live. That's why I really do love investing in real estate. But yeah, I don't think that it's a terrible mistake paying off your mortgage. I think it's going to be a very good feeling, and you'll be able to celebrate and, have a nice party in the backyard when you make that final mortgage payment and it's all said and done. So I think that's very awesome.
Absolutely. But the whole key of, the method that you choose is that you're moving forward, right? You're avoiding those roadblocks that are derailing your financial freedom, derailing your retirement. And you're doing things that are moving forward, right? You're investing into the right assets. You're staying away from, the bad assets that are going to depreciate in value. And you're moving forward in your life, and you're getting some type of freedom, and you're having some type of leverage when you retire. So that's really the key, is that, you choose the right path and you run your own race, and you're going to overcome different challenges throughout life. But if you keep moving forward, you'll really be set, and, you'll be able to kind of, live that financially free life. So just keep that mindset. And either way, I think, both will kind of, reach the goals that they need to reach.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. You know, it doesn't have to be the same path, but as long as we both get to our destination, then that's all that matters with this stuff.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that I'd say would wrap it up for us for our first episode. So we thank everybody for listening to this. So look for future episodes. So we hope you found some value into this, and we'll see you again for the next episode.
All right, it's been fun. See you in the next one. Be good.
Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.